A prophet told me that I'm going to get married to a white woman, and here she is.
Really?
Just imagine you sit down with a psychic and, sorry, prophet, because we're dealing with godly proportions here. I apologize for being so blasphemous. Your breadsticks haven't been scratched, sniffed, slapped, or tickled in a hot minute. Not even a nibble. No one's taken a bite at your cherry. Your love life is a mess. So you go to the psychic to ask, who will be my lover? They say, hold on a second. Don't let the horses get too far in front of the stable, or, some kind of wisdomous metaphor. I don't know, maybe replace the horses with unicorns, and it makes sense.
Good job, little buddy.
They say, hold on. I got the answer for you. They do their mystical things, right? They start shaking their magic 8-ball of a crystal orb, and they tell you your new lover is on the way, okay? Make sure you're in. They'll want a signature. Postage joke. I'll post you this, though, instead. They tell you the key characteristics of your new boo. They breathe. That's the level of ridiculousness that we're dealing with 4 seconds into this whole escapade. Putting all of that shit aside, right? Seriously, imagine you're sitting beside your partner and they're just talking about a prophecy foretelling them that they'll be with a white woman. So you mean to tell me you could just be replaced with any other white woman? Editing Age interjecting here really quickly just to tell you guys that you're gonna want to stick around till the end of this, because towards the hour and 4-minute mark, we do talk about some additional information that actually wasn't in this episode that we're about to watch, and I think it's important context to the story, so stick around. That's what YouTubers do, right? Okay, thank you.
He's 43 years younger than me.
Let's play devil's avocado here. There isn't a scam involved, okay? Nada, zilch, nil point, because I like to get fancy with it.
Ooh.
This is creepy, at least to me, okay? Why are you not with someone your own age?
We met on Facebook.
I was very leery about being scammed.
I see what the editors have done here. I like it. I see a little bit of Helen University here, by the way. She's well and truly on her way to getting that degree. I knew it was a scam. I had an inkling. It could be, right? But I've just gone ahead with it anyway. Also, unless the editors done him dirty and he actually said something in that moment, but they just cut it out, sometimes silence is the loudest message. I'm the bloody psychic now, apparently. My bottom lip was hella dry, by the way. When I looked over there, it was doing up Sahara Desert for some reason. I hope it didn't come across on camera, because I'm not trying to get slewed in the comments. Please, stop it. But this is a nice segue, actually, into... We were talking about the whole silence is the loudest message sometimes. If you're on Tinder, for example, and you're not getting a response to your messages, you might be on Tinder, but there's no fire there. There's no spark. It's a joke. So you might want to change your approach, right? Just in the same vein, if you ask someone if they're scamming you and there's crickets, you might want to get out of there. You tell that person, I'm not interested in this sport, actually. It's a cricket joke. You just laugh for the sake of the channel, please.
You're fake laughing too, right?
Oh, the tears are real.
What I also found interesting about this scene is the question that she asks him whilst he's cooking food is one of the vaguest questions I think I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, I want to make some rice and stew.
Does that have that yellow stuff with it?
Your guess is as good as mine as to what she's referring to. Now, I love food. Shock horror to some people, maybe. I love to eat. I love to try new things. I love to learn new cultures through food. So I did actually go and research what Nigerian food she could be referring to. So there is something called turmeric rice. I'll put it on the screen right now, or, you know, if you say turmeric, if that's what floats your boats. So it's a type of fried rice. So it's yellow because of the turmeric. When did Gordon Ramsay come on the channel?
How dare you?
But because he mentioned cooking stew in the video, I assume it could be eba on the screen right now. It's dough-like and starchy, and you can dip it in soups and stews. It's kind of like pounded yam, for example. But if perhaps you know of more foods that are yellow that would fit the description of what they're making, please let me know in the comments. Perhaps you are Nigerian yourself. I'm very interested to learn what she is talking about here, but I want to segue that into, if you are marrying someone, right? You are doing up all the weddings and whatnot. Surely, as your partner, you would know what they are making. I don't know, it just doesn't fill me with the most confidence that this is a genuine loving relationship, because you surely would know what he's cooking if he's cooked for you similar things in the past. I might be very much reaching here, but I don't know. It just doesn't give me the vibe that she's interested in learning about the culture. I wonder what she is interested in, being in a relationship with a much younger man. The mind boggles, does it not? But how rude of me. Give myself a little slap and a tickle there. Except I didn't tickle myself, I just did it now. Let's meet our characters for today.
People call me Ablack.
And I can't even say my married last name, so I'm Miss Ablack.
Anyone know what the joke is there? I don't really see what's funny. Maybe she's nervous on camera or something. Or maybe legally you can't call yourself his wife, I guess. Or is this a crazy twist in the story and you're actually married to someone else, but you're doing up flirty with Ablack? I don't have a Scooby. Editing H here. I just thought of something there alongside my freaking high-pitched squeak. I just hit puberty right now in this video. I get the feeling, because she couldn't even freaking fathom what he was cooking, do you think it's a case that she can't even pronounce his second name? So she just said, oh, I'm Mrs. I can't say his last name, so we'll call myself Mrs. Ablack. Is that the case? Which, I'm sorry, but it like infuriates me even more that they're calling this a relationship, when I thought maybe I'm doing too much by her not knowing what he's cooking. But you can't even pronounce your freaking partner's name? We're taking the piss there, surely.
I'm 25 and I'm married to Kay, who is 43 years older than me.
Is it just me that thinks, couldn't he have just said her actual age there? Why so much emphasis on the age gap? And then don't get it wrong. I'm not too much of an idiot. I know we're watching a show and obviously it's got to be controversial, right? But I feel like he's calling me dumb. You know, he has to specify the gap because I can't do maths or something. I can't do maths, yeah, in all honesty. You know, back at uni, I dropped computer science because there was many modules where you had to actually do maths. And I can't do this. I'm really sorry. So I did it for 1 year and then I switched to sociology. Had to drop that shit, you know. But that's besides the point, okay? Let's talk about how Ablack dropped into Kay's lap in the first place. In the most PG way possible, though.
We met on Facebook.
He liked something I posted, and at the time it was really insignificant. I don't even remember what it was he liked.
Then we started texting.
He went from somebody that liked my post to my very best friend. I could tell him any and everything. It just kept getting stronger and stronger.
I feel like a significant amount of information is missing there. Now, I know she said she can't really remember what the post was, but I'd love to know what the post was. I don't use Facebook, so let me know in the comments if you do. Do you have the ability to just come across random people's profiles and maybe their public posts, like Twitter, for example? You're just scrolling, you've seen it, and then that's how Ablack has interacted. Or were they in a group, for example, and that's how he connected with her? I don't know. But I do have follow-up questions. How did the connection grow stronger and stronger? What did you guys speak about? Now, I'm not saying it's not plausible, because in workplaces, for example, people of different ages do become friends because you're in close proximity and you speak to each other probably almost every day. And similar here, you're speaking to each other almost every day, but within a workplace, you've got that similarity that you both work there. What are they speaking about? I'm very interested. We then start getting mystical again because she talks about a dream and then waking up one day wanting to go to Nigeria.
So I told my sister, she said, okay, you're crazy. Why you want to go there? And I said, I don't know.
Okay, if that's the hill we want to play on right now. But it's got nothing to do with your boy toy? That nothing to play about with the boy toy, is it? You want to play on that hill? How about you want to play with your boy toy instead? You're trying to trick me, okay?
I told my stepmom about it. She told me I was crazy. Told my children. They all said, Mom, you're crazy. So I didn't mention it to anybody else except to him.
Now we're still spreading devil's avocado on toast here. Nice and thick. You want to sprinkle some chili flakes on that bad boy. This could still not be a scam. So in a general sense, I feel like if a lot of people are telling you that something is a bad idea, there's gonna be some smoke to the fire there, okay? Just, earlier, there was no spark on Tinder. There's smoke where there's fire in this regard. I do obviously understand that people aren't going to be the biggest fan of others getting involved in their love life, and I guess you could chuck in life in general there. I do understand not everyone wants to hear outside perspectives on how you should live your life. But I feel like if a lot of people are telling you something is a bit wishy-washy, especially those closest to you, maybe there's a reason they're saying these things. But I guess there's also the caveat that we don't know her relationship with these other people. Is it the strongest? Is she really in a position to be listening to them if, for example, they despise her guts? I don't bloody know. It's just interesting.
I was having trouble figuring out how to get a visa, and he offered to do it for me.
I went to the immigration. I paid for her visa, which is $350. I booked her flight ticket, then she came.
See, that does seem like a good-willed gesture, but the cynical in me, of course, having known of stories like this before and how they usually end up, but obviously when something usually ends up a certain way, it doesn't always mean it's going to end up that way 100% of the time. But the caveat here is this is how the trust builds up between Kay and Ablack. This is how she, I guess, in her mind, concocts this genuine connection that they have. And let me know your thoughts in the comments, because I'm interested to know what kind of visa issues she would be having. Now, something I didn't bloody expect is that they were filming a freaking TikTok when they initially met up for some reason.
When he showed up at the airport to get me, it's like, oh my God, you are real. You're really here. This is not a scam. Because I was very leery about being scammed.
I don't know who needs to hear this. I don't know whose bonfire I'm going to be urinating on right now. I don't know whose bubble I'm bursting. But meeting someone in person doesn't always guarantee that there's good intentions. She mentions being wary of a scam, but I feel like she's only acknowledging the fact that there was a possibility she could be catfished, and not necessarily anything else. It's surprising to me how many people are oblivious, or maybe they just don't want to consider it, that there's other scams that exist. Some of you might actually be saying that I'm potentially being too cynical in this, but okay, nobody asked for this next part, but I've seen the damage a relationship like this can cause because I've seen it happen within my family. And look, again, I'm being hypocritical a bit because I've said it's not always going to end up a certain way, but it doesn't fill me with hope given what we've seen already. You know, this isn't 100% going to end up with Kay, you know, getting her heart broken or being taken advantage of, because, you know, we're still spreading that devil's avocado on that toast, spreading it so much the bloody toast has gone soggy. But you just have to be cautious. And I don't feel like Kay has been cautious at all.
Got a motel room. 3 days later, he proposed to me.
Okay. You see now it's getting a bit sticky, right? The devil's avocado is sticky. It's gone rancid. Don't eat that shit, because what do you mean? Proposing after 3 days is insane. Please save me the excuse that they were speaking for a long time before the initial meetup. So this is a huge green flag because they actually do know each other. No? I don't mean to sound like a scammer here, but in my humblest of opinions, I just cannot see why a 20-something-year-old is proposing to a 68-year-old. Okay? I can't see it. I'm sorry. And especially after 3 days. Again, I get it. They've been speaking for a while online, right? But 3 days and you've decided this is the person that you want to spend the rest of your life with. Come on, what are we doing here?
I already made up my mind that this is the woman. And then I told her about prophecy I had. A prophet told me that I'm going to get married to a white woman. And here she is.
Doesn't that just sound like any white woman then? Does this make Kay feel special inside? Huh? Special K for all my cereal lovers out there. This is a cereal that you don't want to be dipping your spoon into.
When they gave me that prophecy, they told my dad that I'm gonna get married to a white woman, that he should not worry about the woman. That's how it's meant to be.
Okay, so, I mean, 100% now is just any white woman, right? And the first white woman to have fallen for these alleged games that Ablack is playing just happens to be Kay, I guess. One thing I'm finding really cringe about this, by the way, I don't know if anyone else feels this way, let me know, is the constant mention of skin color. Like, we get it, right? You were prophesized to be with a white woman. Is there anything else? Well, what kind of prophet is this? They didn't detail any personality traits. No other characteristic other than skin color. And then I asked the question, could it have not been a white woman closer to his age? No, it just had to be someone who was much older, is it? Now again, that might come across as harsh, but I feel like that's an important question to be asking.
I believe in God, so that's why I believe that prophecy.
Which God do you believe in, mate? Huh? Which prophet has said this? Huh? I also find it interesting, the, consistent repeatedness, English words, the constant mention of religion. Doesn't it seem very similar to what we see in online romance scams? I don't know if the microphone picked up, by the way. My belly started growling there. It's hungry for the truth. No, but seriously, does it not just seem similar? You know, when the victim's online lover just repeatedly mentions God as a way of like, hey, God put us together, so that's why you should send me X amount of Bitcoin to shove where the sun don't shine so that I can frickin' afford groceries and whatnot. So similarly to online romance scam victims, I guess Kay here if she is religious, or going back on how they even interacted in the first place, maybe it was a religious post of some kind. If Ablack has seemingly latched on to the religious aspect, Kay is more likely to fall for that because she too believes the same thing.
Some will say you're married to your grandma, she's too old for you. And some guys on the street said, I married their client. Someone said, I'm her toy.
Well, I've been called out directly, it seems, so I apologize. Or am I sorry? Now on the screen, I found this particular picture interesting. Look at the happy couple, right? So much love is just seeping through the screen right now. Can you feel it? He looks both scared and regretful. Now, for the sake of being unbiased, of course, because I've been nothing but unbiased in this video, haven't I? I do want to also show a picture that was shown a little bit earlier ago. And as you can see, yeah, he's actually smiling in that picture. So on that note, I wonder if the day was just getting to him. You know, I can imagine wedding days are tiring. Or, you know, the cynical rat piece of shit in me, maybe he just was putting up a charade, right? And it got to a point where he just got caught slipping. The camera picked up on the moment where he let his guard down. I'm no longer smiling. I don't have a Scooby. Do you know what I mean? He talks about how their wedding picture went viral and how people online were comparing him to Fireboy. I'll put the picture on the screen from the video right now. Fireboy is an Afrobeats artist, and people were saying Fireboy has married his sugar mummy or something like that.
But he was referred to as Fireboy, and I was referred to as unknown Caucasian woman in her 80s.
I don't want to have to keep talking about this, but because it's repeatedly being mentioned in the video, I have to keep harping on it, bro. The waffle stack is just getting higher and higher. The way Ablack speaks about Kay, honestly, it does give me the vibe that she's just an unknown white woman, right? The prophecy didn't mention her specifically, nor did it mention any individual characteristics about her. You know, maybe she is particularly funny. It didn't mention any of that. Just white woman. It has to be a joke, right? I also want to go back and touch on the TikTok aspect and the fact that their wedding picture went viral. Why was he recording the initial meetup in the first place? I know a lot of people I've seen online, a very alarming amount as well, seem to feel the need to record any and everything, right? The private moments of someone's life, you know, maybe more intimate moments within someone's life, you know, should be kept behind closed doors. It just, everything seems, for some people, to be content. I've seen way too many videos of people arguing with their children or their partner, perhaps, and then posting it online as a way to ridicule that person's thoughts and feelings. Or this one really grinds my gears, when people start filming others in the street, a particularly vulnerable person maybe, and they mock the way they look, the way they're dressed, maybe the way they are walking, and then post it online in the name of content, apparently, with laughing emojis or crying emojis. Look at this person, and then get surprised about the backlash. Like, grow up, get a grip, right? Not everything needs to be content. Now, the train of thought has kind of been derailed here, but let's put that back on the tracks, because it ties in with the question that I have. It seems like Ablack has kind of made the relationship into content. Look, don't get me wrong, shock horror. Engagement is there. I mean, look at what we're bloody doing right now. So, controversial topics do get engagement. So if we're looking at it in that sense, there's a chance of them going viral, which I guess you could say they have gone viral. So Maybe there's an element of money involved here, and maybe he was like, oh, we're sitting on a gold mine here. Let's see if we can make some money out of this.
I do not feel old when I'm around him. I feel very young. I feel like a teenager.
Anyone else creeped out when she's saying this? I mean, I'm all for people feeling good about themselves, but that's internally, right? You yourself have worked on it. Putting aside the blatantly creepy behavior, I do feel like Kay only feels this good way about herself because of the relationship. And I've always banged on about this in many videos. I don't feel like that's a healthy way for anyone to navigate their own life and navigate their own, perception of their self and happiness. Putting too much emphasis on a relationship and it seemingly being the only thing that can generate happiness for you, or maybe the majority, if we want to, take that angle, I don't feel like is the healthiest way to navigate your long-term mental health. In cases like that, I feel like if the relationship ends, you sort of lose a big chunk of yourself because you attached too much of yourself to the relationship. You let it consume you. And whilst in certain cases, within reason, it can be a healthy thing to be obsessed with your partner, to be obsessed with your relationship, there's distinctions, right? There's obviously a way to do it in a healthy way where you are still yourself. You still have your individuality. You still have your life outside of the relationship. And it's not just the relationship that's making you happy. You're content within yourself and other areas of your life. And on the flip side, if a relationship is the only thing that you're happy about and it's seemingly making you feel good inside because it's the relationship, I just don't feel like that's healthy for you. And to add one more freaking waffle to the stack, Waffle House, please sponsor me. I do also think that you shouldn't let someone who does make you feel good about yourself consume you to the point that you're ignoring red flags. We see this a lot, and I'm not saying this is their relationship, okay? We only see what we see on camera. But, we'll we'll touch on that a little bit more, so this will make sense a little bit later, but in abusive relationships, for example, the person will do and say all the nasty things that they're doing, but then turn around and whisper some compliments in your ear and stuff. Just please don't just assume that the relationship is now good because they show you love every now and then when it should be consistent and respectful. But I hope that made sense. They talk about people stopping them and taking pictures of them, and also apparently people stop driving their cars and get out to take pictures with them. Okay, sure.
It's like paparazzi, it's like, whoa, where's all this coming from?
First of all, I've never heard someone pronounce paparazzi in that way. It sounds like a photographer is going to open up a pizzeria.
This is great banter.
That little at the end there gives me the vibe that she's loving all of this attention. And to be honest, you could argue that she has shown a level of being attention hungry because she's sort of snapped at the first young guy that's shown her a bit of attention, because that's how we've ended up here, right? 3 minutes into this video is when I finally said, what the hell is on her shirt? Look at the image on your screen. Someone is chained up, right? There's some sort of dominatrix shenanigans going on. I'm just saying, it's an interesting choice of shirt.
I never thought I was ever going to be with another man ever again, much less someone this much younger than me, My third husband, I was 9 years older than him. And second husband, he was 10 years older than me. And the first one, we were the same age, and none of those worked out.
See, I'm confused on her logic here, Are you just going to keep increasing the gap until it works out? Like, I shudder to think if the relationship with Ablack doesn't work out, who you're going to go for next. We hear a lot of romance scam victims, and again, this is not me saying this is 100% a romance scam, but we hear a lot of victims talk about them giving up on love, or they stopped chasing love. They weren't looking for a relationship, but they found the person they're supposed to be with the current person that they're talking to / with in their minds. But the mindset that a lot of these victims have, despite them saying these things, I get the vibe that they are still desperate, right? They're desperately chasing that love. And obviously you make questionable decisions when you chase love. I always say it should be a natural thing. If it comes to you, then it comes to you. You'll know when the time is right. But that's within reason, of course, because knowing the time is right is obviously going to be different to other people. And you just have to learn the red flags and be in a position where you're happy to accept that there is red flags, because you can't just be in denial chasing love. Otherwise, again, you make questionable decisions.
Here, the men treat the women so much better. I mean, I don't know how it is with every marriage, but he treats me like a queen.
No, God! No, God, please, no!
Aha! There it is. Well, there it is. The mention of Queen. I was wondering if we were going to hear that in this video.
I'm his priority. If I want something, he buys it for me without me knowing it. He just picks it up and gets it because he saw that I liked it. And in the States, you don't get that.
See, just because it didn't happen for you doesn't mean it's not happening for other people. You literally said you can't speak for every relationship, every marriage, yet here you are doing that. Now on this show, it's seemingly a thing where the producers or whoever's behind the scenes makes the couple get into a wardrobe or change their clothes or just whatever, just something involving clothes and getting changed. Why? I'd love to know why that's a thing on this show.
He calls my style old lady. I call his style thug.
What the is going on in here on this day?
What do you mean by thug? Huh? Care to explain that, Kay? What does having a thug style mean? And what's old lady style? Like, was the shirt from earlier that Kay is wearing, right? Is that his choice? Like, did he make her wear that or something? You know, was it an attempt to freaking make her seem more youthful? I don't know what's going on here. But earlier when I said I was cringing out at all this mention of skin color, I'm not only cringed out now, I'm also on the verge of being disgusted because I don't really understand what they are saying about each other, right? It's so derogatory, no?
I actually do style her by myself. What she likes to wear is not what I want her to put on while we are going out. So I have to dress. I know I'm a musical artist.
Okay, so we basically freaking answered my question there. He slapped that shirt on her for some reason. With all due respect, what was the need to mention that you're an artist here? Would it cramp your image, huh? If she's dressed in a certain way, so you sort of make her dress this way to fit your artist's image? I don't know what's going on, bro, but I might be too woke here. You guys will let me know, of course, but I feel like molding your partner to fit your image, right? Or the image you have in your head of what you want of your partner. I just feel like you're just in that relationship for the very wrong reasons. You knew who they were before this relationship. Shock horror, right? Because that's the point of speaking to someone before actually getting into a relationship. You find out who they are and you get to know each other genuinely, right? So if you're someone who gets into a relationship knowing that the other person is a certain way, dresses a certain way, you trying to change them after getting into that relationship with them screams obsessive to me. It's been a while since I've said this, but if, for example, because I see this debate online a lot, if, for example, your partner goes out to the club, right, and you know that they do go out to the club, why, when you are now in a relationship with them, now it's all of a sudden an issue for them to go to the club? You knew the type of person they were. Why are you freaking getting into a relationship with them if you're just trying to change who they are? Don't get it twisted though. On the flip side, in my opinion, there are certain circumstances where you can question your partner. Like, for example, I don't know, they're wearing a bikini to a restaurant, you know? Sure, I can understand why you would feel a type of way about that, because it is a bit inappropriate to be wearing that to a restaurant. And whilst that is an extreme answer, that is exactly what I think needs questioning. You know, extreme cases, when it's things like that concerning someone's personality or, you know, their characteristics in general. What are we doing here? Why are you trying to change someone? If you want to be with someone who fits your preference, that's your preference, and you wait to find someone who I guess you would be happy to be with, because you trying to change someone, your partner, doesn't scream that you're happy with that person. Is it over the top of me to say that I question his intention to marry her, or, you know, his love in general for her, if he doesn't like the way she dresses? Because calling it old lady style, as I said earlier, it's just derogative. No? I don't get it.
I would not wear something like that normally.
Yeah, you're gonna wear with me.
I'm gonna look like a granny wannabe thug.
Okay, see, I really get uncomfortable, right, watching things like this, because it's like trashy TV in a way, and it's made to freaking bombard you with all this rage bait bullshit and stuff, yeah? Shock horror, my arse is a little bit ablaze right now. What's with all the references to thugs? Can someone please explain that to me?
When he's not around, I get to dress my own self my own way. I'm a cowgirl from Texas, yeah.
Well, Houston, we have a very big problem here, because that doesn't sound like a loving and genuine relationship to me. You get to be who you are, but only behind freaking closed doors when your partner is not around. That doesn't sound healthy to me. Once again, let's strip away the creepy age gap here. Let's strip away the potential red flags that this could potentially be a romance scam. This doesn't seem like a genuine relationship. A relationship should be an extension of yourself. You both share the connection and the love and the respect for one another, and you get to be you, knowing that your partner loves you for you. Do you know what I mean? Like, society spends a lot of time just bashing a lot of people's individual characteristics and saying, hey, you are not attractive for XYZ reason. So when you find a partner, you know, you sort of expect them to love you for the way you are, because freaking why else would you be with that person? So if you can't be yourself, honestly, this just screams ridiculous, okay? And it's fitting she mentioned the teenager thing earlier on, because this is all a bit childish, right? She gives off the vibe that, ooh, look who I'm in a relationship with. It's like she's trying to prove something to people. I don't know, it's just childish to me. This next part I'm going to show you, there's a trigger warning here, I will put, because I don't want to reveal it, because I want you guys to sort of pause, timestamp, and let me know what you think has happened here, well, that I think is really concerning anyway. So I'm going to play the clip and please let me know during the clip, pause, let me know what you think is severely wrong here.
Okay, let's go change, babe. Ow!
Sorry.
Let me walk behind next time. I want to touch that sweet thing.
First of all, I'm not going to lie. I do think, as I said earlier, certain things need to be kept behind closed doors, okay? I know this is hypocritical in a way because I do love making dirty jokes, but I feel like slapping your partner's ass just should be left, you know, off camera. Potentially off topic as well. I really don't like when couples overdo public displays of affection. Like, give a little peck here and there, do you know what I mean? When you're at a restaurant or something. But when you're walking in the middle of the street, okay, please don't stop in the middle of the street and start making out with each other as if you're trying to rip out each other's tongues, okay? I'm trying to walk past the side, I was going to say sidewalk as if I'm American. The pavement is small. I can't go past unless I get in the road, bro. You're trying to make me get run over. That's what they're doing. Sorry. Just, you know, contain your freaking self, okay? Especially, you know, those couples that really grab each other's ass, you know, in the middle of the street and stuff. Like, I just don't find it tasteful. I might be a fuddy-duddy saying that, but like, you know, please respect your partner and stop doing that in the middle of a street. But anyway, goodness me, that took a lot out of me. That's not what's concerned me the most here, okay? I can put aside that PDA. Are we seeing the way he just grabbed her arm when she tried to touch him?
Let me walk behind next time. I want to touch that sweet thing.
Again, maybe I'm too woke to some people. Maybe I'm reading too much into things. But that's concerning to me, okay? That's on camera. He is grabbing her like that. And I'm not accusing him of anything, okay? Because again, I don't know what's going on behind closed doors. But that's not a green flag for me to be seeing that on camera, no less. They come back into the room after getting changed and she puts on that wonderfully interesting shirt that he's picked out for her for some reason. And there's another mention of skin color. Freaking get your bingo cards out now. Or drink. Take a shot of water every time skin color has been mentioned in this. You'll be hydrated until 2030. But this time, it's Kay herself mentioning the skin color.
No, I look like a clown. Like, ha ha ha, here comes that white clown.
You look good.
Oh, first of all, nice of him to compliment her after he's picked out an outfit for her like she's a child or something. Yeah, that's really loving. Yes, once you've molded your partner to look how you want them to look, that's when the love comes in, right? Also, why does she need to mention white clown? Couldn't she just be a clown? I've been skirting around saying this for a while now, but I feel like there's some sort of racial dynamic between them. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I just find it very strange. Well, I guess it seems like it's a recurring theme to mention she's white. They start reading out comments that, what do you call them? Online users leave on their posts and stuff. Bloody, you can tell I've had my soul drained whilst watching this.
She's old enough to be your mom. You're married to your ancestors. Oh, he's married for the US green card.
On this one here, it says, she is your sugar mommy. Dude hit the lottery. Man, she pays for everything, even that gold chain he wears on his neck.
Yeah.
This is extremely immature. Be years before he can ever come to America. The body chemistry here shows everything. It's nothing but opportunity.
The body chemistry can for sure come into question because, again, him grabbing her arm earlier on like that just doesn't fill me with confidence that there's genuine love there.
See, this one says, if I don't get you over there where I'm from, you're going to leave me and find himself a nice young girl. I'm here for a few months, and then I go back for a few months, and then I'm back here a few months, and eventually I'd like to make it 24/7 here.
Anyone who's more knowledgeable on this, please let me know why she is the one flying between USA and Nigeria and he can't seem to fly over to her.
I haven't got the strength, and at my age of pregnancy, am I going to have your baby? It would finish me off. It's going to finish me off, yeah.
So many things, but I don't really care because I'm living my life. We are happy together, It's the more they try to criticize, it makes us more stronger.
Just, isn't he doing the same thing as the comments by saying she has an old lady style? You being happy together shouldn't equal you forcing the other person to dress a certain way because you're now happy, not because of the relationship, genuinely anyway. You're happy that you've been able to find someone who, I guess, is unfortunately comfortable with being molded into your image. Are you genuinely happy? I don't think so, mate. Get a grip of yourself. And unfortunately, piggybacking off of that, she's seemingly happy to have found someone who's much younger that is willing to give her some attention. Now, the reason behind the attention giving, that's up for debate, right? But she's getting it anyway.
It hurt me at first, it really did. I was crying. I was even thinking about I was causing him too many problems, and I didn't want to because he is a celebrity, He's an entertainer.
I did a commentary on a Catfished episode, the MTV show, where someone was pretending to be a celebrity, right? And they weren't obviously pretending to be the most well-known celebrity, but it's a celebrity nonetheless. And even if we're freaking talking about Z-list celebrities, or does it feel better saying Z-list celebrities? I don't know, but you get what I'm saying. Even if they're not the most well-known, they're still going to live a very different life to you. They're still going to live a very... Well, I've just said that. They're going to have a very different circle around them, for example. And I believe you still have to question what they want to do with you. Even if they're not freaking, top dog celebrity, you gotta question what's going on here. Added to that, the fact he's across the world, the fact he's much younger than Kay. I'm sorry if this comes across as superficial, but why does he want to be with Kay? If, for example, he does prefer to be with older women, are there no older women around him? I mentioned something in a video ages ago when we were looking at passport bros, and it could just be me, but there's a power dynamic here. There's a power imbalance as well. And then my elf ears come out, bad boy. Look, look, look. Oh! Ha! They were blessed, just as you are going to be blessed right now, with some of Ablack's music.
I think I'm drowning. I leave 5-4. Would you stay or would you go?
Okay, that's enough of that. Before Ablack somehow ends up copywriting this entire video. I love the fact that Kay is doing up model for this music video, by the way. But I do have a question. Do you think the relationship benefits his music aspirations? We spoke earlier about sort of, the relationship potentially being content, right? Because he, for some reason, filmed meeting up in the first place. Do you think this is a controversial way of getting ears onto his music and potentially breaking in to maybe the US market, or just in general getting more people to listen to his songs, which equals cash moolah?
I've never felt love like this before. This is the one I'm supposed to have been with. I just had to wait a long time for him to be born,
Police! Police! Help!
See, genuinely there, I couldn't believe the horrific things coming out of her mouth, bro, because how do you sit there genuinely, say these things about your partner, someone who you're sleeping with, right? And you don't feel disgusting saying this? You had to wait for your partner to be born. I'm sorry, but it's absolutely fucking horrific. I called the video quits there. I don't know if I missed anything of importance in the last, like, freaking, 30 seconds or so? I don't really remember at this point. That's how swiftly I want it exiting my brain. I called it quits, couldn't do it anymore. So, well, unfortunately, I'm now going to go over to the original video again and see what the people in the comments are saying. We do this thing, of course. Maybe you're new here, I'm not sure. We do this thing where we look at comments on the original video and we open up the discussion over here as well, because I think it's a good way to get people to share their thoughts on what other people are saying, and it's like a discussion thing. Bloody, I feel like I've waffled on that specific part, but I'll see you in a jiffy. Tantalizing talk. None of me feels tantalized, tell you that much. Especially not my loins. First comment, interview her again in 5 years. I mean, I'd love to see an update on her, but I guess if you want the update, you'll have to go and check out their social media, right? Because this show could also be seen as a promotion for some of these people, or maybe even all of the people that appear on this show, because their handle is obviously plugged in the video, but also in the description box, I think. As we spoke about, you know, their relationship is seemingly content. We spoke about, obviously, the monetization of the relationship as well. You could also argue this way, more people get to listen to Ablack's music, which in turn, he's going to profit off the relation or the content of the relationship. Hopefully that makes sense. It's like a web. That's not a web. Don't know what that is. But it's like it all ties in together. But I'd love to see an update. And maybe if I remember, in 5 years' time, I'll check out their social media if I'm still alive. Anyway, always got to throw that caveat in there. And I'll do an update video maybe, if people are bloody interested. Next comment. So the prophecy said a white woman and he assumed it was her. As a Nigerian, I don't believe this prophecy. I mean, I banged on about it so much, innit? Like, this prophecy didn't mention anything specific. And if you want to replace Kay with any other older white woman, you'd probably get the same story. Do you know what I mean? Maybe I'd be proven wrong, and Ablack would be with a white woman his own age. But ifs, buts, maybes, shoulda, woulda, coulda. Do you know what I mean? Next comment. It's hard for me to believe she is unaware of this being what it so obviously is. And obviously, I can't even speak words. You know, let's add in, obviously, the notion that everyone is aware of what they're doing. Maybe, right? And there are obviously cases out there where people are happy to be someone's sugar daddy / mummy. You know, as much as I can find certain things creepy and certain things detrimental to people's mental health, maybe, people at the end of the day are going to do what they're going to do, right? In cases where people are happy to be someone's sugar daddy / mummy, if there's consent on both parties, and look, if the person on the other end is an adult, okay, you know, at the end of the day, can't really do anything, right? Do I still find it creepy? Yes. Is there a question mark whether or not certain people belong in jail? Yes. At the end of the day, I'm a rat boy in a chair, and these are just opinions. People are not really going to listen to me, right? I'm just chatting shit to the camera. So maybe it's a case where she does understand that she is being, I don't want to say used, because then that just implies that I'm saying it's 100% a scam. Maybe she understands there is a slight chance she's being taken advantage of. Although on camera, what she's telling the show doesn't seem that way. So now, I've just waffled a bunch of nonsense because now I'm confused. I don't know, man. Look, basically, if it was a case where she does understand what's going on and she's happy to go along with it, you just have to step back and just be like, you can't help certain people, okay? Just like online romance scams, some people just accept the fact that they want to pay for the fantasy of being in a relationship. You can't help someone who doesn't want to help themselves, so you can't do much in that aspect, but I guess let me know your thoughts. Now, the next comment is interesting because they offer another relationship as, you know, additional context, which I, alluded to it happening to in my family as well. I knew a woman who divorced for a young Senegalese man. After the drama of the divorce, she bought a beautiful house in Senegal, complete with everything, and settled there in a village with her new boyfriend, or husband, sorry. But then he wanted several wives. In the end, she was only good for paying for everything. She was the money man. Anyway, it all went sour. I feel like it's important to get other context, okay? Just as I said, at the end of the day, people are going to do what they're going to do. It's good to be cautious, and it's good to know of other examples of experiences that people have lived that are similar to yours. I also mentioned, of course, not every experience, we'll say, is going to pan out the same way for everyone, but it's good to be cautious, okay? This is her fourth husband, enough said. I can't remember as of right now if I have included that particular part where she says that as a clip, but could you argue she just makes questionable decisions time and time again anyway? If her relationships in the past that haven't been as significant as an age gap haven't worked out, and again, we don't know the reason they haven't worked out. Maybe it is just as simple as they just didn't get along because of the age gap. But whilst it's not significant, 10 years, within reason, you need to know both people's ages before you can say if 10-year age gap is freaking extreme or not. I feel like she's not really learnt anything. And as she said, she's just going to keep, extending the gap, it seems. Let me know your thoughts, because it would be easy for me to say she's making terrible decision after terrible decision. Let me know. Now, this next one, I feel like they need to get a grip of themselves. From the time I heard the accent, I cackled out. That's just not fair to people who do have that accent and do not display any red flags in their life or with their relationship. So, get a grip of yourself. You've been very unfair there. This next one is interesting because I saw a few comments, obviously going down the line of this is their relationship, which I understand. It's love or love is love. Be wary of people who say things like that, by the way. And obviously this person says love is love. And then someone replies, yeah, and this is not that. Obviously, hypocritical maybe because of this entire video, but maybe it is love, right? But love is love. You need to chill out, in my opinion, with saying that. That gives me the vibe of people who disgustingly say, age is just a number. You shut the hell up, because no, it's not, okay? And love is love isn't that, okay? Yeah, someone might love someone else, or even something in certain situations, But that doesn't mean it's correct just because they love it. That means, we'll give them a pass. It's okay, it's fine. Please seek help, okay? in certain situations, some people need to be, don't know what the word is. I don't want to say. In jail is the nicest thing I could say, I guess, for certain people. This is a great video, and I wish her the best and happiness. I hope it continues for her. The music video was so sweet. Yes, it was. You know, I don't know if this is some kind of a ride or die Ablack and K supporters. I feel like they're being too coddling, right? When we talk about online romance scam victims, and we talk about how non-beneficial it is to coddle them and, you know, stroke their ego or whatever, I think in the same vein, it's good to have the same mindset here. You can't just coddle people for the sake of it. You hope that relationship continues for her, yeah? So Donnie grabbing her arm, just very aggressively, in my opinion, constantly referring to her as just a white woman from the prophecy, molding her image to fit what he wants in a relationship. Okay, yeah, that seems very happy. Yeah, you hope that continues for her, right? Do you see my point? People who coddle and think that they're benefiting someone by doing that, they don't think, you know, they don't think about all the other stuff. They just think about, oh, I've seen the person is smiling on camera and saying how happy they are. We're just going to take that. F it. No? Let me know your thoughts, of course. You know, again, I'm not saying their relationship is abusive, but someone in an abusive relationship could say, and I've seen it, right? I've seen people say this. Yeah, I'm happy in my relationship, but behind closed doors, they're just not, and they're scared to out that piece of shit, you know what I mean? Because they're scared of what will happen to them. I'm not saying that's what K and Ablack's relationship is like. I don't have confidence, okay? With what I've seen anyway, or how I've interpreted it, in case people want to say for sure that I don't know what's happening. Now, this next one does mention not every Nigerian is a scammer, which I agree with. People, stop with all this negativity, please. Not every Nigerian is a scammer, and it infuriates me to read all mean-spirited comments. I'm a white woman married to a wonderful Nigerian man who treats me wonderfully. I'm very happy with my Nigerian husband, and we have a good life together. Please don't assume every other or every single Nigerian man is evil and bad, because that isn't the case at all. I adore the country of Nigeria, and I'm so blessed that I finally found the love of my life here in Nigeria. God bless Nigeria and all its beautiful people. I agree wholeheartedly that not every Nigerian is a scammer, okay? I despise people who just attribute scams to a certain demographic of people, because it's just not fair, is it? This person, I do hope your relationship is a genuine one. You've said you found love of your life in Nigeria. So it's similar to Kay in that your lover has been found in Nigeria. You don't mention age or anything, so I mean that I guess that's where the similarities just end. But I hope the best for you, right? Because I don't know your story. Again, the negativity is interesting because if, for example, people are just slewing all Nigerians or being particularly mean maybe about, I don't know, the way Kay looks, maybe she can't control a certain aspect of the way she looks, you know, stuff like that, where it's not fair for the person because you're not commenting on their behavior / actions. You're going at them for things that they can't control. Does that make sense? Then you're being negative for the sake of just being mean. Do you know what I mean? But if you're wanting people to be cautious and to see red flags, that's not negative, okay? going off of what we've seen, there are red flags, and it's not a case of you calling out every Nigerian because you're calling out things you've seen in the video. So hopefully that makes sense. But before we end out this video, please, I hope you've got room in your stomach for a little bit more waffle. Here is the virtual maple syrup. Use it wisely, baby. I do want to dig a little bit deeper and provide you guys with a little bit more context and stuff that I feel is important to be mentioned, because whilst I was finishing up the edit for the tantalizing talk section, a part of me, like my soul, was crying. Yeah, I mentioned in the commentary, something's missing. I feel like important information was missing from that episode. I did the digging and I did find some articles talking about the story, but in particular there is one article from the news outlet The Sun that I did find some particularly interesting information from. Now, my UK heads in particular will know of The Sun. It's not necessarily the most reliable, so you got to take this information with a pinch of salt, I guess. I myself am not the biggest fan of them. I don't really appreciate some of the things that they write about and sort of the headlines. It's very trashy tabloid stuff. But this is the only article that I could find talking about these things that I think is very important to share. And I hope it provides a little bit more context into potentially why Kay actually ended up, if you want to use the word settling, for Ablack. But then also raises questions of Ablack's intentions. But we'll get into that, right? So this is Kay speaking right now. It had been a difficult time for me. My husband had left me for a much younger woman, leaving me heartbroken, and all my kids had their own families, so I felt very lonely. I'd retired from my job as a nurse and was left feeling directionless. I do understand that losing sort of that connection with your children because they go off to have their own families, you know, that sense of community starts to dwindle because they have to take care of their family now as well. I also understand, you know, losing that sense of romance makes you, in a way, crave romance. Your husband, you say here, has left you and you're feeling directionless. I guess more so losing your job or retiring, not losing it. Retiring from your job, maybe you attached a lot of yourself to your job, so now you feel like there's nowhere to go, and maybe alongside the communication loss with your children and the romantic sense of things being lost as well with the husband. I do understand why she feels this way, but there is a way to navigate these feelings with a level of caution that you don't end up hurting yourself even more. But we'll get into that more a little bit later. The husband leaving her for a much younger woman is interesting because there was a moment in the commentary where I mentioned I got the vibe that she's with Ablack, not entirely for this reason, but I got a sense of look who I'm able to still attract type vibe from her, sort of flaunting that she's with a much younger individual. And you could argue the husband leaving her for a much younger woman here gives the context that maybe we could actually back up what I was saying, that she is sort of, gotcha, look who I can still attract. You thought you could leave me for a much younger woman, but look, I can still do the same. You get what I mean? And I don't think I just even said words there, but hopefully that makes some sort of sense. I feel like that's very important to mention. Not sure why it wasn't included in the video, but I guess we'll never know. Then also, some more bits and bobs. Kay admits that Facebook and mobile games kept her busy and she would often end up chatting to people from all over the world, but But after 6 months of chatting online, Kane Kay soon learnt that not everyone she spoke to could be trusted, and you might be asking yourself, well, what's happened to Kay, right? She gives off the vibe of maybe being a little bit desperate, and she's spending a lot of time online, so you can probably start to draw conclusions on what's happened here. Someone I'd met online had persuaded me to invest in Bitcoin, and it had turned out to be a scam. I'd lost a lot of money, and it also completely shattered my faith in humanity. But shortly after, Kay received a message from a stranger whom she had previously exchanged a few messages with. Kay says he asked me how I was, and when I explained that I was in a really bad place, he offered to FaceTime me immediately. I was really touched that he cared, and I told him, through tears, the whole story. Ablack was assuring and sympathetic and warned me to be more careful. He was very handsome and much younger than me. At only 25, my initial thought was that he would get along with my grandkids. Goodness me, how shortly after are we talking did Ablack message her after she had coincidentally been scammed, for the bitcoins and whatnot? What is happening here? I also don't know how much I can read into this, but essentially he's still a stranger here, and offering to FaceTime immediately, I'm not sure many people would do that. I don't know if that's something we need to be pinpointing here. How many people, tell someone online their issues and struggles that they're dealing with, and then they just say, hey, FaceTime me and stuff. I don't know. And once again, I reiterate my disgust in certain areas. He's the age of your grandkids, and you figured, yeah, I'm gonna fall in love here. This is great. Now, as I've tried to do up Devil's Avocado a lot, I've bloody eaten so much avocado in this freaking video. More context, I need it. Do you know what I mean? When you say shortly after, how much? Alright? I don't want to throw Ablack under the bus, but it just seems all too convenient. Do you know what I mean? Kay goes on to add the following. He told me he felt like I had put a spell on him and that all he ever thought about was me. And then interestingly, as we touched on in the commentary, Ablack apparently says this: I felt the same, but our 43 age gap did concern me, but Ablack assured me that age was just a number. Didn't I say not too long ago that people who say age is just a number freaking are disgusting? And to be honest, you could argue they need a serious checking of their backgrounds. What the hell is going? There's too much synchronicity going on recently. My ears. Are you as concerned as me? Are you starting to sort of draw up, not a conclusion, because once again, who really knows, right? Are you starting to piece together certain things that just makes this all seem a bit too fishy? Also, for any sort of context that you might need to know because you're desperately craving to know how did they get married and stuff, Ablack proposed to her in a restaurant. The diners were all cheering and stuff. Kay met the family, and obviously they got married. So pretty much the episode covers a lot of things, but key things obviously are missing, I guess, as we've just kind of looked at. You'll be the judge of whether or not the information that I've found is of any context use. But to end this, whilst my sister and grandkids were supportive of my marriage, they couldn't make it to Nigeria. As for my kids, they still weren't convinced. Didn't she say her sister said she was crazy or something in the actual episode? So, isn't this just going against what she said in the video? I'm a bit confused, but when I watch back the edit, I guess I will remember what her sister said, or she said about the sister. The kids still not being convinced. I mean, I'm with them. I'm in the same boat as them. But at the end of the day, the marriage happened. Now it's all about seeing how things pan out, really. So hopefully this information has been helpful in understanding a little bit more about the behind the scenes stuff. Again, would I have liked to know more about how they actually connected in the first place? Because it does seem like the post is just not mentioned. But dare I say, how do you not remember how you connected in the first place? Surely you would remember what that post is if you truly love each other. But look, hopefully this has been of some help. I'm now going to throw it back to bloody previous recording H to outro this all. So thank you guys for allowing me to waffle more. I'm done here. My throat so dry. Drink some water right now. Timestamp. Goodness me. That took a lot out of me. I don't even know how long this video had turned out to be. But for reference, the original video is like 8 minutes long. So however long this has turned out to be, I've waffled potentially too long in some people's eyes for an 8-minute video. I'll see you guys next time. Please stay safe. And it doesn't hurt to be cautious with who you are choosing to be in a relationship with. Okay? You might have your desires and they might be creepy. But control yourself. Because I don't want people to obviously end up hurt. You know? See you guys next time. Bye. Oh, my jaw freaking... I've talked for so long, I've broke my jaw.